right, good afternoon, algebra and math. We're going to be working together today because we're going to be working on something that both of y'all can do. We're still going to be solving systems using graphing, but math, algebra, you haven't really done a lot of word problems. So we're going to go back and we're going to do some word problems. And so this is the word problem for today. This is kind of a constructed response. Miss Doherty was serving 20 days in isolation and counting. As a result of her behavior, she added 5 days each week. Miss Guillory was serving 5 days in isolation and county, and as a result of her behavior, she added 10 days each week. In which week will they serve the same number of days, and how many days is that? So whenever you see one of these problems like this, the very first thing that you want to do is you want to stop and read the problem completely and figure out what they're asking. So what they're asking is, you know how many days that they're starting with, you know how many days they're going to add, and so you want to know when will they have the same number of days and how many days is that going to be. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to highlight my question, and I'm going to highlight this in pink. This is my question. In which week will they serve the same number of days, and how many days is that going to be? And I'm going to put that into a sentence, and I know y'all do this in all your other classes that restate. And really in math, what it helps you do is it makes sure that you go back and you answer the question, because you'd be amazed at how many people will work this problem out, especially one like this, but they will never ever go back and write the answer. They'll just go ahead and they'll just graph it and see what the answer is, but they'll never put the answer. So right down here, I'm going to write in blank days, comma, they will both have, or, oh shoot, I messed up, days. And did y'all catch my mess up? I'm going to fix it. I'm going to have to put my phone down. I put in blank days. It's not in blank days. It should have been in blank weeks. Okay? In blank weeks. So in blank weeks, they will both have blank days. And if you didn't do that, it wouldn't take off the problem. But I just like to have that because that way I know that I'm going to answer it. And it's not going to be something that I'm going to forget about. Okay? Because you get so busy solving the problem that sometimes you forget to go back and answer it and make sure that you answered it. And if I have that sentence there and I see it before I move on, I know I'm going to. So then we're going to go back and we're going to figure out what we need to know in order to solve the problem. And so I'm going to see what I know about Miss Doherty. Well, with Miss Doherty, I know that she was serving 20 days. So she started out with 20 days in isolation. But then as a result of her behavior, she's going to add 5 days each week. Okay, so that's Miss Doherty. So I'm going to write that down right here. Okay, so Miss Doherty started with 20. And she added 5 per week. Okay? Then let's go look and see what Miss Guillory had going on. So Miss Guillory only started with 5 days, but then evidently her behavior must have been pretty bad because she added 10 days each week. Okay? So Miss G started with 5 and then added 10 per week. Okay? So in this one, if we know where we started and we know how much it's going up, or we know that rate of change, guess what this is? This is a y is equal to mx plus b. Well, my y is equal to, for Miss Doherty, 20 is my starting, so that's my b, so it's going to be plus 20. And then it goes up 5 per week. Well, that's going to be my x because it goes 5 up per week plus the 20 you start with. So y is going to be my total days. And x is going to be my number of the weeks. Okay? And we're going to use the same ones for Miss Guillory also. The y is still going to be her total days in isolation, and the x is going to be her number of weeks. So I'm going to fill in y equals, well, she doesn't go up by 5. She goes up by how many? She goes up by 10. So that's going to be 10 days every week plus the original 5 that she started with. So y is equal to 10x plus 5. Okay? So I want to go ahead and I want to break it down. So I'm going to go to Miss Doherty and I'm going to look at my b. Well, my b is 20. So I know that I'm going to have a point at 20. So I'm going to have a point at 0, 20. I know that her slope is 5. So that means it's up 5 over 1. And then I'm going to go to Miss Guillory, and I look at hers, and I see that her B is 5. And I see, so I know I'm going to have a point at 0, 5. And I see that that her slope is 10, so that's 10 over 1. And so that's going to be up 10 and right 1. Okay, so we have everything we need to go ahead and graph both of these. And so since this is a real life situation, you can't have negative numbers of weeks and you can't have negative numbers of days in isolation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label. All I'm going to use is my first quadrant. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a title. And I'm just going to title it D and G. Oops, excuse me. D and G, isolation. Okay. D and G, isolation. I'm going to come down here. And this is, my X is going to be weeks. And I'm sorry, but I have to hold my paper still so I can do that. Because we said that X was the number of weeks. And then my Y, I'm going to turn it sideways. And that's going to be my total days in isolation. Okay. So when I number my weeks, I can just go ahead and I can number those just by ones. So I'm going to do what I always do. Y'all know how I am. I like to skip that because I don't like that messy look. So I'm going to start at my 0, and then I'm going to skip the 1, but I'm going to number 2, then 4, then 6. So it looks like I'm numbering by 2s, but we know I'm really numbering by 1s. And y'all have seen me do that again and again just because I'm so OCD and I like it not to look messy. Okay? And that's probably way more than we need, but I just went up to 16. So then for the number of days in isolation, I see the 5s over here, you know, that Miss Guillory started at 5. I see Miss Doherty's going up by 5. I see Miss Doherty started at 20. I see Miss Guillory's going up by 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to number by 5s. I don't need a break in this one because I'm numbering by 5s, so I'm not skipping anything. So I'm going to number by 5s. It's going to look like 10s because I'm going to skip the 5. So this should be 5 right here. But I'm going to skip and I'm going to number 10, then skip 15, 20. Then skip 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and that's probably more than enough. Okay? So remember, you don't need that break unless you're skipping and you're going to number it differently. Like if we were skipping to 20, then we're going to number by fives. Yes, we need that break. But since we're numbering by fives all the way up, we don't need that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with Miss Doherty. And she started at 20. So I'm going to put her point at 0.20. And she went up 5. Well, 5 in this case is just one line. Okay? It's just one line because we're numbering by fives, and she went over 1 week. So up 5 over 1, up 5 over 1, because you know I like to have about three dots. I'm going to put my phone down so I can draw her line. Okay, and so you can see that the line that I drew for Miss Guillory, and notice I made sure that it stopped right here at 20 because that's, you know, her first days in isolation. But, you know, I kept an arrow going because, you know, she's probably still getting more. So this is going to be Miss Doherty. So we'll remember whose line this is, okay? So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do Miss Guillory. And so Miss Guillory started at 5 days. Her B was 505, and she went up 10. So I'm going to come right here and I'm going to start Miss Guillory at 5. And now if we were in class, y'all, honestly, I'd probably be using different colored ink pens. Or if we were on the computer, I'd be changing the color of the lines to make them to where they really stood out. But since I'm at home and I didn't even have a ruler, I'm using a box top. We're going to use this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Miss Guillory's slope was 10, up 10 over 1. So I'm going to go up 10 over 1. Put me a point. Up 10 over 1 and put another point, and then I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to draw my line for Miss Guillory. Okay, so look, there's the 3 points that I drew. Okay. Okay, so let me write Miss Guillory's name on this one. All right, so you can see they do intersect. And then, so Miss Doherty at first was spending more time in isolation, but then right here on that 3rd week, they're going to be spending 35 days, because if you look, here's my point. If I go down, I'm at that 3rd week. And if I go across, I'm at 35 days. And then after that, you can see Miss Guillory is going to be spending a whole lot more days in isolation compared to Miss Doherty, because her line is so much more steep. Her slope is so much greater. So in 3 weeks, they will both have 35 days. Okay? And I can check it because I can go back up here and I can put in 35 for Y. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 20 is 35. So that works. Then for Miss Guillory, 35 is equal to 10 times 3 is 30. Plus 5 is 35. So that works. So we did this problem correctly. So this was for math and for algebra for today. I hope you enjoyed this little problem. Tomorrow at school, there are going to be packets if you're interested. It is not new stuff. It is review from the beginning of the year. The first packet is on exponential law, exponents, and scientific notation. It does have an answer key where I've worked it out for you so you can see how to do it. If they run out, send me an email. I'll print some more. I'll go up to school and print some more. just trying to do something to keep y'all sharp and keep your math skills going. Love y'all, miss y'all. Have a good day.